But moving on, MCU films all got pushed back. Amir said that he isn't as excited as he was before because of that. But
I don't think I'm as excited for any of these movies as I was before, except maybe Spider-Man. I don't like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I don't like MCU Spider-Man, but I'm kind of excited for what I'm hearing about like Spider-Man 3, because my favorite Spider-Man, which a lot of people really hate, is Andrew Garfield. And he may, not saying he will, but like there's like a lot of stuff that's suggesting he might be coming back, like his Electro coming back and stuff like that. Like,
both me and you agreed that we enjoyed both of those movies. We think, like, the first one I think is a great movie. The second one is good, but they, towards the end of the movie, they do way too much.
Yeah.
They do way too much. I think that Harry himself being in the movie wasn't bad. It was him becoming the Green Goblin at the end that should have been saved for a sequel.
Right.
Like, if it was like an end credit scene and he became the Green Goblin, that would have been fine. But he didn't come in, kill Gwen. If Gwen was going to die, I wanted her to die in another movie where they had more time to focus on it.
Right.
Rather than it happening at the end of the movie and then it's, oh, Peter's sad, and then we never get another one ever again.
Right.
Also, what is confirmed 100% is that Jamie Foxx will come back as Electro. And,
and I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. And he said that he won't be blue, which means he's probably going to be yellow, like he is in the comics. And I've been seeing tons of fan art of people saying what he's going to look like as Electro. Some of them are weird because they try to incorporate the mask, and the mask doesn't really work. Like we talked about the Rhino a couple weeks ago, which we could talk about it one time. That was a whole argument that we don't need to be.
Yeah, no, that was like that was like something personal. It wasn't on the podcast,
but I feel like I would say I feel like we both could agree on this, but based on that Rhino conversation, I'm no longer sure what we agree on. So
just throw it out there. Just throw it out there.
I don't think that Electro's mask can work in live action. Here's the thing, though. I do
agree.
Like I said before, I think potentially anything could work in live action, but I don't think that his mask needs to work in live action. He could just not have a mask. He could be like the Electro from Spectacular Spider-Man, where his body, much like in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, his body was made of electricity. So it was like he was surrounded in like this armor that contained the energy, while his head wasn't a mask, it was just like electricity. And the way the mask could work is that it's not really a mask, it's just like electricity spiking off of his face. That way it could technically work. But of it being like a literal mask on his face, don't do that for the life.
Yeah.
With Mysterio, we all wanted that fishbowl. I wanted that fishbowl.
I wanted the fishbowl. There's no way you can do Mysterio without the fishbowl.
Yeah, like even though I wanted it a lot, I was still like, is it gonna look right? And then they showed it, and I was like, it does look right. Yeah. But Electro, in my brain, it doesn't work, and a lot of people have tried it. It doesn't work. But there was one in particular that it's weird because seeing Jamie Foxx, a black man, in an Electro suit kind of makes him look like Black Lightning.
Yeah.
They always give him like the lightning bolts on Black Lightning suit that like come in like a V. Every form of Electro I've seen, somebody draws that on. He looks like Black Lightning, but he's wearing green and yellow instead of blue, yellow, and black.
Right.
But yeah, that sounds cool. So I'm gonna give the actual dates that they've said. May 7th, 2021, Black Widow, which me and Amir both are excited for. Like Amir said, he likes spies.
I love spies.
Black Widow, much like James Bond, he was excited for.
Which James Bond also got delayed yet again.
Yeah, another movie you're excited for, Shang-Chi, is coming out July.
I'm not excited for this movie at all.
Yeah, it's Eternals, which I wasn't really that excited for, but I was interested in. It's coming out.
I'm never excited for Eternals.
November 5th, and Spider-Man 3, which is sounding more and more interesting as the days go by, is coming out December 17th. The only thing I think is that I'm a little bit afraid that they might try and do a bit too much. And that could always mess things up if they try to do way too much. But I'm honestly no longer sure what they're gonna do because
Mhm.
there have been so many leaks and official announcements that make you go, I'm not sure what they're doing. They're most likely doing Spider-Verse, but we don't know what they're really trying to do with that Spider-Verse. And also,
Mhm.
apparently Doctor Strange is going to be in it. So it's probably going to relate to WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness. So no longer have really too much of a clue what's happening anymore, other than the fact that it's potentially a Spider-Verse film.
Right.
Which I wanted them to wait before they did it, at least one more movie. But if they do it now, I wouldn't be that mad at it.
Okay. I do real quick want to talk. Not. I'm not going to go on a Harry Potter like rant. That's just going to be like our new channel norm for like a super long rant. It's going to be like Harry Potter. We're just going to reference that. But
Yeah, that
I'm not going to go.
I clipped it, but I never posted it. It was we spent that episode was like an hour 45, and
Yeah.
22 minutes talking about Harry Potter.
Yeah. No. So you guys don't. You guys apparently haven't seen it, but we did go on a long rant about Harry Potter a couple weeks ago. But I'm not gonna go on like a super big rant about Shang-Chi or anything, but Shang-Chi is one of my favorite Marvel characters, my favorite comic book characters of all time. I like out of all my favorite Marvel characters, I think he's like maybe third, like right behind Miles Morales and Clint Barton as Hawkeye. And I love Simu Liu. Okay, like the guy that's supposed to be playing him, Simu Liu, is awesome. He's a great actor. He's a wonderful human being.
I follow him on Twitter. I've never seen any movie he's ever been in, or at least as far as I know, I haven't. And just following him on Twitter, he seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, I used to follow him on Twitter back when I had a Twitter, and I follow him on Instagram. He's amazing. He's an amazing dude. If you want to see what he's in, if you have Netflix, there's a show called Kim's Convenience. It's a Canadian sitcom. Honestly, like it's probably my favorite show of all time. Like I find it hilarious. I know a couple of people that don't find it funny. I know a few people that find it hilarious. I find it hilarious. The whole cast on there is all like they're all really nice people. But Simu Liu is on there. He's amazing. Um, he's supposed to be playing Shang-Chi. I'm very excited to see what he brings to the role. I have like complete and total faith he's gonna like kill it. He's gonna be great. Again, I love Shang-Chi. Matter of fact, in my backpack, if you heard Velcro, it's my backpack. Give me a sec to find it. I think this is it. Yep, this is it. I have my giant Master of Kung Fu Volume 4 omnibus. Cost me $125. Like I'm a huge Shang-Chi fan. I'm not excited for this movie.
Had a $100 omnibus.
Yes, and it's only volume 4. I'm still trying to find the first 3 volumes that are possibly cheaper than $125 because I don't want to spend $125 again on something. I will if I have to, but I don't want to. But I love Shang-Chi, one of my favorite characters ever. I'm not excited for this movie, specifically because of the fact that the more I hear about it, the less of a Shang-Chi movie it's seeming to be, and the more of Marvel Mortal Kombat setting up the rest of the MCU it's seeming to be. Like, from like now, these are all just rumors, and they're unconfirmed, but a lot of the time with superhero movies, rumors tend to have some truth in them. I already figured, like, when they were talking about, oh, the Mandarin's going to be in this movie, I already figured that they were just going to replace Shang-Chi's father with the Mandarin, like, have the Mandarin fill that role, because Shang-Chi's father is very important to Shang-Chi's character, who he is, his, like, backstory and everything. But, the Mandarin, like, even in the comics, like, just his character already fills that role. Like, all it needs to be is, like, oh, and he has a son, Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi did all this stuff, and the Mandarin's there. The Mandarin then takes place of his father. That's not a problem at all. That would have been fine. As a matter of fact, there was a post from a really like trustworthy Instagram page. I'm gonna find that as I keep talking. That was like going over some stuff about the Shang-Chi movie back, like way back when it like first got announced, like maybe like the day after it first got announced, and like all that stuff sounded great. Now I'm hearing he's gonna be the son of the Mandarin. Okay, I'm fine with that. That makes sense. I was even theorizing that when I first heard about it. I first heard the Mandarin was gonna be in the movie. Okay, that's fine. Then I heard he's a mutant. No, let's not do that. And then he's gonna be, or he like was working or not working. He was part of an orphanage or something like that. No, let's also not have that. That's not Shang-Chi. And then he ran away from the Mandarin, who's his father. No. Then the Mandarin is like trying to get the 10 rings, which he'll win in a tournament. So he's trying to have Shang fight for him in the tournament. And so basically, if Shang goes and fights for him in the tournament and wins in the 10 rings, he's going to leave Shang alone. No. And then all these characters in the tournament are a bunch of other B-list Marvel characters that will open up different aspects of the MCU. No, this is sounding, every time I hear something else about this movie, it's sounding less and less like a Shang-Chi movie.
I don't think that last thing you said is necessarily a bad thing.
The last thing I said isn't necessarily a bad thing.
They could still introduce those characters without taking the focus away from Shang-Chi. And
absolutely.
Open up the universe. But why is the part about him fighting for the 10 rings for Mandarin, Mandarin's his father, why is that a bad thing?
Because I feel like every single thing after I keep listening to them just keeps taking more away from Shang-Chi as a character. One of my favorite MCU movies, not my absolute favorite, but one of my favorite MCU movies is probably Captain America: The First Avenger. And it doesn't set up a lot about the MCU. It sets up a little bit about the MCU, which we wouldn't have known otherwise, until the MCU, way down the line. I don't even think they planned half the stuff they set up in that movie at the time they were setting it up. But that movie focused on who he was, or who Captain America was. It set up perfectly his character. You know what I mean? It perfectly set up everything about his character. This movie is seeming to be more of a brand advertisement for what's to come, from everything I'm hearing. Him living in an orphanage with other mutants and stuff like that is sounding like he's going to be setting up mutants. Him being a mutant sounds like he's going to be setting up mutants. Him fighting in this tournament, which, again, I'm fine with that. My favorite Shang-Chi story is about him fighting in a tournament. It's an Elseworld story about him fighting in a tournament he wasn't fighting for his father, he was fighting against his father. But I'm fine with that. I don't think that should be the first movie. If they're doing a multiple movie thing for Shang-Chi, I don't think that should be the first movie, and that just sounds more like they're advertising more characters. And that's not even everything. There was more in conjunction with it that I can't remember. And that's starting to make me a little bit mad that I can't remember, but I'm also glad that I can't remember it because I don't want these things to happen. But it's not.
Yeah, I feel like because a good example along with Captain America that hasn't even released yet, that will be an example of them focusing on one character and doing a little bit of setup, like you said, like they did some setup in the first Captain America movie, like they do in every Marvel movie. But Black Widow is going to be an example of them focusing on this character because she's dead.
Right.
If you haven't seen, everybody's seen Endgame. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Black Widow died, and
it's been over a year.
Yeah, this even though I feel like this movie definitely should have came out in between Civil War and Infinity War.
Absolutely.
In my personal opinion, I think it 100% should have came out in between that time because that's the time frame that the story takes place in. And they're going to set up things like the new Black Widow that's definitely going to happen, and Taskmaster's being introduced, and tons of other things. But with Spider-Man, that's what I'm afraid about with Spider-Man 3. I think there's too much setup at Spider-Man 3 that I feel like one good thing that could come out of it is maybe they bring back Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man in Sony's Spider-Man universe.
That reminds me a little bit. I heard a rumor.
I think that
go ahead.
I think that a lot of universes are afraid, and DC's not becoming. They're way less afraid of this than Marvel is, of making a movie that uses a character that they've already made a movie with, but doesn't have to do with that other universe that they already set up.
Mm-hmm.
He has already made a movie with the Joker in it, and then they made a separate movie with the Joker in it, and there are tons of Batman movies. They aren't afraid to just make a bunch of Elseworld stories in movie form.
Right.
And because Spider-Man is technically owned by Sony, not technically owned by Sony.
It is. He is owned by Sony. Yeah.
In terms of movie rights, I feel like it makes more sense, and nobody would be confused that there's another Spider-Man and another.
Right.
And to have that Spider-Man in that universe with Venom and Carnage and what's that vampire dude's name? I can't remember his name.
Morbius.
Morbius. I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Like they.
If they set up something like that, I'd like that a lot actually, because the way that the Sony's like Spider-Man universe has been going so far, like you could easily throw in either Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in there, and it would make sense. Except no, not Tobey Maguire because Venom was in there already. You could add,
Yeah.
you could 100% throw in Tobey Maguire. I keep saying Tobey Maguire. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in there, and it would make sense because a lot of the characters that were introduced, that they've introduced or are going to introduce, haven't showed up in Andrew Garfield's story, and one of them doesn't even take place anywhere near New York. One of them's on the other side of the country.
Right.
And the other one does take place in New York, but they could just make it take place in a time frame that excludes Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah.
And
That's
also mentioned Spider-Man exists in Morbius in the trailer. They showed the Tobey Maguire suit, but they could easily just retcon that and say, nope, it's Andrew Garfield. He did something and now he's wanted for whatever.
right.
And then Spider-Man 3 could release, and for whatever reason, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is wanted because he was framed by some supervillain or something like that. That would actually be really cool, and that's making me excited for something that might not even happen.
Yeah, no, I feel like the fans need to be a lot more in charge than the people actually in charge.
Crazy, because Batman and Spider-Man by themselves could have their own movie universes because their gallery and the world.
I think that's what they're starting to do with the Batman, the Matt Reeves movie, which also got delayed, unfortunately.
But